Hey guys, Matt McQueenie here of the Mix Minus podcast, and I'm just going to do a kind of quick little hangout on the new product I purchased, which we are looking at right now. This is the Blue Yeti microphone. It's a USB based microphone. I got it because I am a stickler and I am a crazed fool for deals, and I'll check Amazon every so often. I have enough podcast equipment in my studio, microphones galore, but man, do I love collecting it. And if it's going to be put to good use, then why not? The Blue Yeti is a microphone that many people look at for podcasting in the beginning. Why? Because it is a USB based microphone, meaning all you need is a computer, and then you can buy this bad boy and you can plug it right into that computer, and you could basically be casting right away. Now you can use it to cast on something like Audacity, Adobe Audition. Now Audition is pretty expensive for software. I work at a company where we have licenses for Adobe products, so I use it in my mix because it really is a good product, I find, and you don't have to really tool around with it very much. You can put a setting on that really works with the Shure SM7B microphones, which I use, and the setting is radio broadcaster, and you just press that setting and it applies right to it. Sounds really good with the Shure SM7B. But for the early part of my podcasts, probably the first 20 to 30, I was using Audacity. Audacity is really good. And again, it's free and it has all the different controls you could want, from compression to noise reduction. And then it can output it to MP3s. It's a very good product. But what I do is I have a digital recorder. So really, I don't record anything into the computer because there are those times a computer, whether it's going through updates or whether something just happens, it can go down. And often when you are recording something that's just, streaming along on the Audacity or the Audition, there just could be a little critical error that happens, and then your whole podcast gets taken down. So a lot of times, if you really want to move to the next step, you get a digital recorder, because that really can't happen. Obviously, if the electric goes out, it could knock it out, obviously, because everything that's hooked up to electric, from your microphones to your board, if you have it, to the power source of the digital recorder itself, can be taken down. Now, obviously, with a digital recorder, they can run on batteries too, but that's only really if you're using the onboard mics on them, which can be pretty good. But if you're doing a podcast and you're going through your mics through your board into the digital recorder, obviously electric going out, you're kind of screwed. But in general, you're going to be fine as long as the electric's on. On a computer, it can crash. And if you have a really important interview, or you have an important discussion or a good podcast going on and it crashes, big time bummer. You have to ask the guest to kind of start over again. And then you kind of have that fear of God in your heart again that it could happen. Doesn't happen a lot, from what I'm told, from a lot of people who podcast that way, but it can happen. And that's a scary thing. But if you're starting out, it can be worth the risk, because you get a microphone like the Blue Yeti here, or Blue also has a Snowball. Blue also has really good mics, XLR mics, that are oft used. They have the Encore series. I have the Encore 200s for road podcasts that I use, that has built-in phantom power. So if you use a little digital recorder like the Zoom H4n that has phantom power in it, those mics get that nice boost from that phantom power, and you can really do good road podcasts with it. I have a weird hum going on with them right now, because I just purchased these because, again, as a guy who loves deals, Sweetwater.com was doing a buy one, get one with the Blue Encore 200s. So I just kind of jumped in and got it. And for about $75, you get two really good mics that are typically $150. Nobody's gotten down that far. I was looking at them on Amazon, and Amazon was getting down to $130 on some of the microphones, those Blue Encore 200s, but never below that. Once you see the buy one, get one, I jumped in and I got it, but started testing on the Zoom H4n, and I was getting this hum, the electric hum. And a lot of people are saying it has to do with ground power or this, that. I don't know this stuff, but I got to try to figure that out. But good mics. But this guy here, the Blue Yeti, really serious, solid mic. Usually you see it in silver or platinum. On Amazon, they had this deal for the blackout version. It's all black, all parts of it. Very nice looking mic though. And it was usually $150 on its own. And it was down to $79 for a flash sale, like a day sale where, almost like Groupon, they have this many of them available, and then you could purchase them, and it uses up. I actually shared the link, and a buddy of mine, Adam Olson, who was on a recent one of my podcasts, purchased one as well. Sometimes the deal's so good, you got to jump in. And so I got it because I'm always interested in what gear you can get for podcasting, and what gear works, and how you can kind of work things into all the different ways that you can podcast. And I was recently on the Podcasters Roundtable, which for me was a real honor, hosted by Ray Ortega, with Dave Jackson and Daniel Lewis, three guys who are really kind of prominent and prolific in the podcasting industry in terms of being consultants about podcasting. And I had been listening to them, especially last year when I was getting started with my podcast, because they're the guys who could get you up to date on the best practices, flatten that learning curve out, as they said, and really get you going in a timely manner. When you look up a lot of the things and you do your due diligence and research on podcasting, their blogs, their podcasts, their video casts about it come up often. And so you really get a lot of the trial and error out of the way by the things they've learned, because they've been doing it for many years. Ray Ortega even does this as his job for a big, I think, science and technology network, which he often doesn't say. But a cool thing with podcasting is almost all the different experimenting you could do and trying it out in different atmospheres, or this room or that room, or, almost like when people record music and it's like, oh, I'm getting a really good sound from the bathtub, so let's record that here. We're getting this cool echo. Or you try this room, or something I saw Ray Ortega do on a recent podcast. He has a podcast also called the Podcaster Studio. So the Podcasters Roundtable is the one that I was lucky enough to appear on, episode 40. The joke was PR40 because Heil PR40 is a very big microphone. So Podcasters Roundtable episode 40 I was on, about beyond iTunes. So all of the podcasting platforms that you can share on that are not iTunes. That's like saying all of the things you could use on search engines that are not Google, because in each sphere, Google's 66% of the market, and in search and iTunes is basically 2/3 of the market as well in podcasting. But it is interesting to talk about, and it jumps into all kinds of other conversations. But I was listening to the Ray Ortega cast on his Podcaster Studio, and he was recording from his car, the back seat, I think, of his wife's Prius. And he was doing an episode with another gentleman, and they were using Skype to talk to each other. But each one of them recorded their own feed on each side. And then I think the other gentleman, his name might have been Randy Coppinger, possibly. He's a big guy in kind of voiceover world, and I think with animated movies where you have to get those voices great, because the Chris Rocks of the world have to sound good when they play, these cartoon characters. Again, don't know if Chris Rock's in it, but that kind of feel that this guy works in. And they both recorded their ends, and then they used Skype. Ray was still within Wi-Fi distance of his house, so they were able to use Skype, and then they talked to each other through Skype, and then just record their own feeds on each side. They took the feeds, Ray on his end took the guy Randy's feed and his feed, put them into one session in Audacity or Audition, not sure which he uses, and then line them up, and then it sounded like they were in the same room. And that kind of innovation is very cool to me, that you could sit in the back of a car and do a podcast with another guy or gal somewhere else in the world, and it kind of takes on a life of its own and sounds like you guys are in the same place. You're breaking down time and space, and that to me is a really cool aspect of this world. But the Blue Yeti is really good. You can get started with it and look for the deals on it, because again, deals are great. But the Blue Snowball, the Blue Yeti, a lot of people can start podcasting just with those Apple earbuds you get for your iPhone. You take those earbuds and you plug them into a phone, or you plug them into your computer, and that same mechanism that allows you to talk to your friends with the headphones on is what will allow a microphone with good noise canceling aspects to it to do a broadcast. So many times if I'm doing a Skype cast or a Google Hangout with people who don't have some kind of USB microphone, I'd rather them not use the microphones on the computer, because that can bring out a lot of outside noise, and those are not the best. But if they plug in those earbuds to it, it sounds like they're almost on a microphone. But you could get one of these, you could feel like you're broadcasting, which is a big thing. It has this kind of official, nice cylindrical feel to it. It's got a volume for the headphones, because you could plug headphones right into the bottom of the microphone. It's got the USB out that you plug right into your computer. And why is the volume on the device so important? Because USB, when it goes into a computer, has to be, I think, transferred from an analog to a digital, or a digital to an analog. I don't know that science to it or technology, but basically what it means is that if you plug this microphone into the computer, and then you listen to it through the computer, you're going to be on digital delay. So you're going to be talking and you're going to hear yourself seconds after. That can be a pain, and there's nothing you can really do about that. So a lot of these mics that are really good, that get up there in price a little bit, or that are, the Blue or the Blue Yeti or the Blue Snowball, they have the headphone jack in the microphone so that you can hear yourself in real time. And through that microphone, if you're talking to someone through Google Hangouts or talking to them through Skype, you can hear them through that as well. And there's also going to be no feedback sound and all that kind of stuff. So it really can be a useful thing. And as you can hear through the Google Hangout, the sound is quite good. Now, I've been testing, my first time testing with this guy here, or if you want to call it a gal, but I'm thinking a Yeti is more a guy type thing, although there probably are female Yetis. But when you're testing with this here, I heard some kind of high-pitched noise when I was playing around with the gain control, because the mic does have its own gain. It also has all different kinds of, where is it here if we can show it? It has all different kinds of controls that can be like cardioid microphone, omnidirectional, all these different aspects that have to do with what are you trying to do with it? Are you trying to record music? Are you trying to record a conversation where you need both sides of the microphone to be pulling? Do you need to record that has all sides pulling from it? Is it music, which needs, a 90 degree listening aspect, or 120? For podcasting or broadcasting like this, you would use the cardioid. I'm probably saying it wrong, but it's not carotid because it's an artery. But, use that because it's going to knock out everything that's behind it, but everything you talk into the front of it is going to be picked up in a very broadcast worthy aspect. So use something like Google Hangouts to do a podcast. Now it is live. So if somebody happens to be watching at the time and you make a mistake, anybody watching is going to hear it. But a lot of times if you kind of plan a Google Hangout just to be something to record a conversation, and you record a Hangout on air, you have the video of the people and you have the audio. And then really, if you do it so that you don't want people to see it, people probably are not going to see it. I mean, you have to promote the heck out of it for even a handful of people usually to see it. The cool thing with that Podcasters Roundtable I was on, where I used a USB mic in that case because I did not have to record onto my side. Ray Ortega was recording on his side. The good part with that was I used a microphone called the ATR 2100. Now that's a great mic too, actually cheaper than a Yeti because, not because it's cheaper, but the thing with that mic that's really neat is it has a USB input and an XLR input, both in the same microphone. So you can do a lot with that, a lot of flexibility, and it sounds really good. So that's a cool thing. But of course, with my kind of craziness on deals, I got this one to try it out, using it here. But with Google Hangouts, you record your interview, you record your discussion, and then it will be live at that point once it's live while you're doing it. And then also at the end of the Hangout, Google takes the video, because Google, of course, owns YouTube. They take the video and then do all kinds of encoding, transcoding, whatever the word is. And pretty much within 5 minutes after, that episode is available on YouTube. So you hook it to a YouTube channel, it's available. Now, you could keep it as a video cast at that point, or you can take it and download the I believe it's the MP4 file, which is the video file. You download that, and then you bring that file into an Audacity or Audition, and you could turn it into an audio podcast, and it'll have both people, or however many people. I think you could do up to 10 people in a Hangout concurrently as part of a discussion, as well as many people as you want on chat. And you can relegate and then promote people to the discussion as you see fit. But it's a neat thing. And so just using that, if you use this, and also Skype has a lot of programs you could buy that some are free, some are purchased, and I would go with a purchase one probably, but they will actually, MP3 recorder is one I really like. I think that one was free. And so when it just automatically records your Skype conversation and turns it into an MP3. I've had some problems where it crashes. Again, that's a pain in the ass if you're having a discussion and it crashes. But all these ways to kind of do podcasts if you want to at a low level or a high level or anything in between. There's so many cool different ways to do it, and it's just a lot of fun. So you take that, as I said, with the YouTube MP4, which is the recording of the Hangout you did. You download that, you put that MP4 into an editing program, again, like Audacity or Audition. You can then put whatever effects you want on that file, and then you can render it out to an MP3, and that can be your audio podcast. So many cool things to do. You don't need to spend a ton of money to do a great podcast or to get good sound. You can get good little products on the periphery, like a Blue Yeti, like a Blue Snowball, like an ATR 2100, and I'll put links to all these in my episode notes here. and you can really get going. And you can do as many guests as you want, as many discussions as you want. It's really up to as much time as you can put into it and how you can get your guests. That's where the fun of it is. So, little quick talk here. Thanks a lot. Blue Yeti Black, the Blackout Edition. That's what I'm using here. And we'll look forward to talking in the future. Look for my podcast, Mix Minus Podcast, on iTunes, Stitcher, Overcast, every single podcast catcher or podcatcher that you can think of. Go to MatthewMcQueenie.com for more information, as well as an archive of the podcast there. And keep subscribing, keep listening, keep reviewing, which is important, and keep watching. And I thank you very much. Have a good rest of the weekend.